Hello again, this is Nick back on the Get Me Off Grid video blog. This is coming up to bedtime here in England on the off-grid experiments. I'm going to very quickly confess something to you, and that is that I broke my off-grid status for a short period of time, namely during the extra time of the England game and the penalties. But I didn't really think I could resist, so I apologise for that, but I was sticking to my off-grid regime for all the rest of the time, so I'm not really going to count that. Okay, I'm just going to treat that as my little treat. I haven't watched any news, or anything really. I've done some internet surfing for some news stories, that's fine. I watched a bit of News 24 on a BBC News channel, but not all that much in the way of audio-visual entertainment. As far as off-grid entertainment is concerned, I've got a Netflix account which works on my mobile phone, on my cell phone, and I watched a movie earlier on that, and it was the more modern Conan the Barbarian movie, and it was crap. It really was appalling. So, that was a bit of a waste of my time, but never mind. What else have I done? Well, I kept up with the news about the football game on my Twitter account. That's also still an off-grid device if you think about it. It's not perfectly off-grid because obviously contract phone and so on and so forth, but again, I'm allowing myself that. Right, now, the weather tomorrow is supposed to be a lot better and dry, so I'll have the opportunity to have the wonderful experience of washing my bed sheets and my clothes in the off-grid way, which of course means heating water, shoving everything into the bath with hot water and a spot of cold, and scrubbing everything by hand. So that means my smalls, my trousers, my shirts, my t-shirts, and of course my bed sheets and my pillowcases. The soap I'm going to be using is Soap Nuts, which I've been using in the washing machine anyway, but I'm not using the washing machine for the whole week. Okay, not using the washing machine at all, not for the towels, not for anything. So I've got to keep on top of everything. I've got to do my, obviously, bodily ablutions as well, which is going to be quite a time-consuming exercise, but it still has to be, got to keep on top of these things. I've noticed that if you're using a vegetable rack rather than the fridge, you've got to do more food shopping. Even carrots can get pretty manky pretty quickly, so that's something else to be aware of if you are going off-grid, to keep mental tabs on all of your fruit and vegetables, that it's all going to be okay. Maybe you have to go shopping twice a week, maybe 3 times a week, depending upon what you're getting, and making sure you're looking after it. Okay, so if something's getting a bit off, you put that in your next meal. So I've got some plans for tomorrow and for the next day. Everything requires much more planning. The only bad thing that's happened is that I've burnt my index finger whilst trimming the wick on my delightful oil lamp, which has been the lamp itself is very good, but the glass gets very hot, the wire gets very hot, and I tried to trim the wick using my little, I don't know whether you can see that, there we go, the little scissor attachment on my penknife, which worked okay to be able to cut the wick down, which was brilliant, but I unfortunately ended up touching it after it had been in the flame, so that was me being very silly. Remember, of course, that most accidents happen in the home, and if you're going to put yourself into a dangerous situation through turning all the lights off like I have, the likelihood of more and more accidents happening is still pretty high. Right, what else did I notice? Well, a bit of a change in state of mind. As we approached dinner time, I thought, I've got to get ready. Got to get ready for dinner time. So, set up the oil lamp, got myself one torch, which I placed beside the oil lamp, so when it comes to lighting it, I'll have the illumination that I need to be able to light it safely. Put my cigarette lighters beside the oil lamp, so at least my ambient lighting is all going to be looked after. Made sure I had this little torch ready at hand in my pocket, so that when the time comes, I'm all set, because you will want to use light. Okay, if you think there's something on the floor you might trip up, you're going to want to use a light source to be able to make sure you don't trip up and break your neck or fall down, because being in the dark is dangerous. I mean, if you go online, I'm sure you'll be able to find some websites that will tell you of all of the thousands of underpants related accidents that happen because people weren't looking or they weren't paying attention, or the number of times people have like tripped over, you know, because the cat happened to be in the way, and so on and so forth. Well, think about it. I'm lighting my flat with 2 torches and 1 flickering olive oil flame. So the quantity of potential damage that I'm doing here is quite high. So I've got to be ludicrously careful of that. And also about burns. This is a naked flame, and I have found myself reaching over it, so I was still behaving as if, you know, it was either I had the lights on or it was daytime, because my mind is still thinking in the old way. And I suddenly felt a bit of a warm patch on the inside of my arm. And of course that was the flame sort of like making me nice and toasty. I didn't burn my clothes. I'm not wearing polyesters that are quite likely to catch on fire for that reason of the possibility there being fire damage. Taking into account I use bioethanol, taking into account things like the olive oil flame and so on. You know, I mean, the fire risk gets higher. So be careful. You know, if you try and do this yourself, it's not, you know, all dancing around the maypole. It's not all, oh, I'm off grid, I'm all absolutely wonderful. No, it's planning, preparing, being careful, being aware of your state of mind, looking after yourself, being aware of everything around you, making sure you know in your mind's eye where you put your torch or your flashlight when you go to bed, so that, you know, it's, if you wake up at 1 o'clock in the morning or 2 o'clock, you know, if it's still dark, you know where it is, so you can turn it on and you can find your way around. Then you're not going to put yourself into difficulty or danger or fear or panic. Because even though I've got the ability right now to find the mains light switch and turn it on, or to just say hang it and go straight back to normal life, I'm trying my hardest not to do that. Okay, the football was a bit of an exception. Okay, I'll be honest. But in every other possible way, I haven't broken, you know, the pact, so to speak. It's a different ball game. It's a very different ball game. I mean, it's fun and it's a challenge. I haven't lost my interest in doing this off-grid thing. In fact, my interest has become more enhanced because I realize the number of things I don't need. Okay, I don't have to have the microwave. I do have to have, let's say, the gas and or bioethanol for indoor cooking. The things that you do need and don't need change. That will of course be situational if you try to do this yourself. And I think your perspective on what you actually need changes too, because by comparison, I mean, when I'm going out and I'm being sociable with my friends, they're great people, but they often dress very, they dress very well. But I think to myself, in this situation, when I'm alone indoors, if I had to burn my clothes so as I generate some heat or some fuel, or tear up a good shirt to make sure I've got cooking fuel, would I be prepared to do that? And I would say, yeah. I mean, if push came to shove, if you get my drift, would I be prepared to do that? And yeah, I mean, I care more about what I think and what I believe, and the quality of radio stations I'd like to listen to, and the quality of lectures and broadcasts which make up what I am about, more than I value anything to do with normal sociable behavior in terms of fashion, clothing, and the rest of it. It's like, there's like a call towards what is really important, or almost like a primitive, a primitivistic mindset. Let's just think about like maintaining the roof over my head, maintaining my ability to have the basic quantity of energy that I need, and the basic quantities of food that I need, rather than thinking in terms of society expects me to be this, that, and the other. When I think I'm actually in more of a position of even greater free thought, because I don't have some of the constrictions that I previously had. I mean, this is just like the way I'm starting to think. Uh, it's curious. It's curious. So anyway, that's just where I'm at so far. Still enjoying it. Still loving the journey, and looking forward to keeping you updated for the next video blogs about going off grid. Oh, and don't forget, there are links down there. I am doing this to raise some money so that I can like own a small holding, take people on retreats, show them the ropes, so to speak, and help to persuade other people to get off grid in a way which will cut down their bills, because we're reaching a time whereby energy poverty is going to be a big thing, and you yourself, no matter who you are, where you are, okay, you may end up being in a position of intense fuel poverty at some point. So you may as well try and get the knowledge and all the behavior right now to protect yourself in the future.